Hello, thinkers. So I'm back to talk about another topic that was asked for me to expound on, and let me just jump right into that. I'm going to leave the name withheld, but in the nutshell, they owe $500 to the management company where they currently reside, and they are thinking about moving out and putting in a notice on December 10th and moving out at the end of the month. The question is, if they leave at the end of the month by giving notice on the 10th and owing the late fees, what will happen to them? And I'm assuming they're talking in reference or in terms to receiving a judgment or having their credit damaged by the situation. Now, as a property management professional for the past 16 years, this has been what I've done for a career. Now selling real estate or being a real estate agent. It's something that I have always had a passion for and have loved to do over these past years. However, I do need to clarify or do need to state that I am not giving legal advice, because I am not an attorney, and you should not misconstrue any of the advice or suggestions that I do give as such. However, I will point you to the common document that you will be able to find all of the answers in which should answer your question, and at the end of the day, you should consult an attorney if you are facing or need to seek legal action. So, with that being said, in my own professional opinion, in regard to leaving at the end of the month and giving a notice on December 10th, what you will want to do is make sure you have read your lease. In your lease, it will give you clear, detailed instructions on how to terminate the lease. It'll give instructions on how they should terminate the lease for you, on you, and how you will terminate the lease on them. Typically, most leases require some type of advance notice in order to terminate a lease. And this is simply because they want to be sure that they have another applicant lined up to go into that unit in order to minimize their vacancy loss. So if you're not giving a 30-day notice, it may be stated in your lease that it is required. And if you don't give that 30-day notice, you will be responsible for rent for the next period of 30 days, if not more. So again, you want to check your lease to see what the terms are for terminating a lease. Sometimes when you terminate the lease in the middle of the lease before it's up, you may be responsible for that entire portion remaining on the lease. Sometimes some leases have a termination clause and will say there's an early termination fee of 2 months rent. That information you really need to go to your lease to look for. Your lease is your battle document. That's what you use to fight all of your battles, is your lease. Secondly, as it relates to whether or not this will affect your credit, it may. And the reason why I say that it may, because in my own professional experiences, we typically did not collect rent where late fees were owed without applying that said rent to the late fees first. Usually, any rent that is collected will be applied to any outstanding fees from the month before. This way, what will be left is outstanding rent. Typically, judgments or filings for court, that can only happen on outstanding rent, and usually you cannot include the late fees. However, if they paid your late fees with rents, they paid your late fees that you owed with the current rent, that leaves rent outstanding in that same amount for that month, for that current month. I hope that makes sense. Let me say it again. If you owe outstanding late fees and you pay rent for the current month, they will apply that rent to those old late fees that are from the past month, and then you will still owe that same balance for the current month in rent. When you owe money in rent, they can then process the 3, 5, or 7-day notice, depending on your state law. They can file a notice and then file it in court for more action, for more legal action. So if you owe late fees and you're not able to pay, the best thing that you can do at this point is to pick up the phone and talk to the management company. Oftentimes, in my experience, the last thing that the applicant did, or the tenant would ever do, is pick up the phone or come into my office and actually sit down and talk to me and tell me what's going on, what hardships they're facing, how can we work it out, what type of payment plan. If you don't have another place lined up to stay, then you definitely want to get on the phone or go into the office and find out if there's anything you can do as far as making an arrangement to pay back some of the late fees a little at a time while you're paying your current rent. Now, if you don't have rent money for the next month, or you haven't paid rent for December, or you don't have rent for January, and you think you're going to continuously be late, don't waste your time. If you're going to make a payment arrangement for late fees that are outstanding, then you want to make sure that you're not going to be late anymore. So you need to budget or figure out your budget, because if that rent is more than what you can afford, you may need to look for something that's less expensive in rent. Let's see, what else haven't I covered here? The bottom line is that whether or not it's going to affect your credit this time, it may affect your credit not this time, but the next time, because these are habits that you're picking up. These are habits that you want to get out of. These are habits that you don't want to create, especially if you look forward to home ownership in the future, because then there's a lot more at stake, because you're going to go into foreclosure. So practice good habits of paying your rent on time now, and being open and honest and having good communication with the people that you're in debt to now, so that you won't have issues later on down the line. So my best advice, my best suggestion is to check your lease. Obviously, check your lease for what the stipulations are in order for you to move out. And then number 2 is to contact the property manager and just simply talk with them and let them know your situation and whether or not you'll be able to pay those monies back, maybe as an arrangement or some other setting. And then number 3, stop paying your rent late. Get on time with that. So again, I'm open and available if you have any other questions, or if anyone has any questions or any comments or any suggestions, drop them down in the comment section below. This is a property management moment, but we're all about think, love, and manifest. So we have to use our brains to be thinking. We have to be able to love one another, and we have to be able to do both of those things in order to manifest the dreams that we want to live. So I'm out. Again, this is not legal advice, but I'm out. Bye.